This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
This is it, everybody. This is as big a day as it gets for hockey fans, in particular fans of the Edmonton Oilers. And so while we may not be a sports show or a hockey show per se, our enthusiasm, our anticipation, our excitement, we think will be palpable, if not yet already, by the time you hit through the end of this episode. Johnny Infamous riding shotgun today. It's been a huge couple of months for you, presiding as the official DJ of the Moss Pit. Yeah. And of course, tonight is absolutely huge. You've been burning the candle at both ends for 8 weeks, and we think that all of this is about to pay off, as we believe that just hours after we are recording this show, the Edmonton Oilers will hoist their sixth Stanley Cup, their first in 34 years. In a second, we'll get to Charles Adler. He's going to join us in talking about this. Plus, we'll talk about a huge win, a massive win by Naheed Nenshi over the weekend, the Alberta NDP leadership race. An absolute, I mean, this was just domination when the ballots were counted. We're going to analyze that, plus a big by-election happening in the city of Toronto. What are the implications for federal politics? And we will be talking today, and if you want to skip right ahead to it, it'll be at about the 40-minute mark of this podcast or this YouTube episode, with the new leader of the Alberta NDP. His team is calling him the next premier of Alberta. Naheed Nenshi will be joining us. If you're streaming this live on YouTube or listening live on the Mixler audio app presented by California Closets, Nenshi will be joining us around 9:15 Mountain Time. This is a real kind of a Monday kind of a show with lots to talk about, lots to catch up on. I get the feeling that a lot of people, if they are showing up to work today, are planning on missing work tomorrow for sure, win or lose.
I guarantee if you go to get a coffee at Tim Hortons tomorrow, the window's going to be closed. That's if they win, that's how shut down the city will be between 7 and 10 a.m. tomorrow, I'm guessing.
Want to let our audience know that we will be doing an episode of Real Talk on this is going to be on Tuesday morning. If you're listening to this, if you're one of our daily viewers or our daily listeners, we appreciate it. But the June 25th episode will be the morning after either the Oilers win or lose the Stanley Cup in Game 7, but we will be here to talk about it. We may be licking our wounds. We may be nursing some impact of either celebrating or commiserating or what have you. But it's been funny. I've been kind of like just cruising around on social media over the weekend and watching what some people are saying. And a lot of people are their employers. I think in particular in the Metro Edmonton region, obviously. Sure. But we're hearing reports that this is happening in Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver. Maybe not as much in Calgary, but even still a little bit as people look for the Stanley Cup to return to Canada for the first time since 1993, for the first time in 31 years. But a lot of employers are giving people the Monday and the Tuesday off, which that's I think, amazing. I mean, depending on what you do for work or what you do for business, that's the type of generosity from an employer that an employee will remember for a really long time. So I love seeing those stories.
Well, this is pretty historic what's happened here. I mean, I'm just woke up today and I'm like, did you ever think like look at us? I just looked in the mirror and I was like, look at us. Look at how far we've come from being down so much in the start of the season to 16 wins in a row to being down 3 rip in the final and thinking there's no hope. And now it's just like, we're here. And I agree with you. I think like today, I think a lot of places will be closing early. I think we're going to see, I mean, we're right downtown. We're going to see people start coming down here at like noon and getting ready 100%. And getting,
including us,
getting a little wet and getting lunch and
How
whatever.
About this? So our Real Talk Golf Classic on Thursday, June 20th, and we're going to be recapping that today in Positive Reflections presented by Kuby Renewable Energy, our cart partner, by the way, at that tournament. But what a day it was out at the Ranch Golf and Country Club.
That was amazing.
I saw they posted this weekend, the Ranch is not taking any afternoon tee times. The last tee time at the Ranch is like 12:30 because they are closed at 5.
It's over.
Well, because they're pros and they're groundskeepers and everybody else wants to be watching the game too. So, unless you're in the hospitality business, unless you own a bar or restaurant, chances are you're closing early.
I saw a video somebody took of Game 6. and it was like 30 minutes after puck drop of Costco. And they were like, this is the best Costco run I've ever done. Not a soul in there. Just this one guy going around with his cart.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, everybody's already all loaded up for their Game 7 watch parties and all this. And do you know anybody personally that's flown down to Florida for this?
I know a few people who did. Me and my buddy DJ Alze, who does the Moss Pit with me.
What a duo you guys are.
Oh my gosh, we're so tired. But anyways, one of his buddies called him and said immediately after the Game 6 win, he got a pretty good deal. He got flights and 2 tickets for like $3,500.
Really? All in?
Which is crazy. Probably nosebleeds or whatever, but still.
Who cares?
$3,500 to fly down and get 2 tickets. And yeah, that's pretty good.
I was talking to a buddy that we were down in Calgary over the weekend, hanging out with our parents. Happy birthday to my dad today, 75, unbelievable. And so this one buddy of mine, he's not an Oilers fan at all, like not in the least. This guy, as a matter of fact, on any regular day or any regular hockey season, would love to see the Edmonton Oilers lose, but he felt like he had to be part of a run, and obviously is a big Flames fan. And I'm not, taking this opportunity to take big swipes at Flames fans. I'm just saying this guy decided that he kind of wanted to be part of something, part of the magic, and so this guy throws $300 on the Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup when things weren't looking good, and he's telling me looking at a $2,200 payout if they hoist, and so this guy down in Calgary's cheering for everybody. But this is good. So we've got, obviously, you and I have some pals, in sports media, so they're all down in Florida. Some folks have sort of made that impulsive decision to head down. One of our friends in particular, her parents, I'm not going to say who it is, but her parents have decided, like, what a special family trip they're doing, and they do all right.
Yeah.
So she and her sister's hubby's not invited. The grandkids aren't invited. It's the original family core. It's mom, dad, and the 2 sisters, and they're heading down there. They got tickets. They're heading down on the private jet. They're flying down there in style. I'm thinking this is going to be for them.
Yeah.
And they've had some pretty fabulous family vacations over there. This is probably going to be the most memorable for everybody if things play out.
I don't think
the way that everybody hopes.
No matter what happens, man, 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. Obviously, we want them to win, but it's going to be an incredible evening here. And on the betting thing, the betting is going crazy. I saw some guy who lost like $19,000 because he bet on like a parlay, and the last part of the parlay on the last game was Connor McDavid, and all it was 1 shot, and he thought it was a lock.
Oh, no.
Connor got 0 shots last game. So there's a video of him at the Panthers game, and someone's videotaping him. He's like, he's a Panthers fan in a Panthers jersey. He's like, I effing hate Connor McDavid. And it shows like a one-off where like Connor tried to shoot and couldn't. And then, of course, you got Portnoy,
Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports.
Head of Barstool Sports, who has flipped his whole, he used to tweet, Oilers are going to make the cup. Oilers are going to do it. Now he's doing like a reverse psychology thing. Even today, this morning, he was tweeting, "It's over. Oilers are done."
Man. People are wearing like the same socks they've worn for the last 3 games. People are, running through their same routines. Everybody's finding their own special superstitions. We have them in our household.
Do you?
Oh, we're having so much fun with it. Yeah, for sure. Like the lights that we have on and what everybody's wearing and what we're drinking while we're watching, while we're sipping on. I'm talking all the way down to the 2-year-old.
Yeah, I believe it. Edmonton's like that. I have a friend who Game 4, they watched the game on the back patio, and now they're not allowed in the house.
No,
they have to watch every game from that
It's
on.
working.
They have
Don't
to
mess
sit
with
outside by themselves on the back patio while everyone's inside.
Like, what would have been the odds that the Oilers would have lost 3 in a row, then won 3 in a row? So now you realize that everything's happening. Everything's coming up Oilers right now, so we got to stick with the same. We'll see what Charles Adler's doing in just a quick second. But before we do, I want to let you know that this episode of Real Talk is presented by Alberta's top real estate school. Online, that's Relo at R-E-L-O, Relo.ca, where better real estate training starts. If you're sick of working for somebody else, if you're sick of having your income or your earning potential capped, if you'd love to work in an area, a field, a career where you can help people every single day, why not check out Relo and a career, a future in real estate? They're going to help you prepare for your exam. They're going to help you get your license, and then they'll help you launch on the right foot. And they want to save you a few bucks along the way as well. If you use the promo code Ryan100, that's Ryan100, all one word, they're going to knock $100 off the Alberta commercial and the Alberta residential real estate bundles. So if you're doing both, you can save a couple $100. That's Ryan100 at Relo.ca. This next guy knows a thing or two about winning. He's got an Emmy Award for his legendary career in talk radio, and courtesy of our friends at Tice Automotive Consulting, Charles Adler joins us to kick off every single week. It is game day, my man. Game 7. How are you feeling in Winnipeg today?
Well, I'm feeling great, but for whatever reason, I can't see you guys on my screen. Can you?
We can see you perfectly fine. You look handsome. You look fabulous. Don't worry about it. Hey, are people
It's not an insecurity thing. It's a tech thing. I just want to make sure that we're technically.
It's all
pristine.
good. Technically, we're good. Maybe Johnny and I are just preparing to take ourselves off camera.
No. I'm going to say, listen. That was my fault. I'm tired from Oilers playoff run. I just turned the window on. Can you see us now?
All right, there you go. Good.
Everything looks great, Donnie.
Hey, Chuck,
thank you.
Are Jets fans, are people in Winnipeg honking horns when the Oilers win, or is there still the Jets wanted to win the Cup this year too. It wasn't in the cards for them, but how's Winnipeg feeling today?
Everybody wants to win. Look, for some reason, people are such closet cases at this time of year. There is this mantra right across the country that we only root for our local teams. It is not true. It's not even close to true, because there's something called TV, and people watch this stuff on TV, and they watch it every night or every couple of nights. But the point is, they watch the playoffs. Hockey fans watch the playoffs, and I don't understand something about hockey fans. I mean, I've been a hockey fan ever since I've been in diapers, okay? They brought me to Canada, and within moments I became a hockey fan. So I don't get this. Hockey is what it is all about for almost all of us who are fans. Obviously, we want to root for our local teams, but the game matters. And yes, Canada matters. And yes, the team based in Canada playing tonight in South Florida, that team that's based in Canada called the Edmonton Oilers is going to get the majority of people in this country who are watching TV supporting. But for some reason, privately, one-on-one, people still keep spreading this manure about, only root for my local team. It's just never been true.
I would actually, of any franchise in Canada, I would blame Jets fans the least for having just the tiniest bit of animosity to the Oilers. I mean, I grew up obviously I'm a 77 born, right? So as a Flames fan growing up, they get to the Cup final in 86, they get back and win it in 89. But other than that, it was all Oilers all the time. And you had these Jets teams that were fantastic, and they didn't get a sniff with some legendary players. They just couldn't get it done. So I wouldn't blame Jets fans, but I also do feel like seeing the Stanley Cup come back to Canadian soil for the first time in more than 30 years would be something the entire country could get behind, just so long as it's not with the Vancouver Canucks.
Old-timer Jets fans want to keep reminding me, and I was part of the broadcast crew in the 80s, so I don't need any reminders, but they want to keep reminding me that they thought Edmonton was arrogant, specifically Wayne Gretzky. They thought Wayne Gretzky ran the show, and that the refs gave Wayne Gretzky everything Wayne Gretzky ever wanted on a Stanley Cup silver platter. And old-timers never stop reminding me that I should carry a chip on my shoulder the size of the Rock of Gibraltar, but Wayne Gretzky. And why is it impossible for me to do that? Because I watch those games, and while it's absolutely true that the refs sided with Wayne Gretzky was the greatest. And the only person I have felt that way about since then is Connor McDavid. And he is, if there's one person that makes me believe in the Edmonton Oilers and has made me believe in the Oilers for the last few years, but especially tonight, it's Mr. McDavid.
Yeah. Hey, Wayne, when did you start walking with a bit of swagger? Well, when they started calling me the Great One. when I started scoring 400 points in minor hockey and walking my way through the National Hockey League record book, I started to think that I might be a little bit special. But you're right. Look at what Connor's doing, and there's all these other storylines here. And at the end of the day, we'll crunch the numbers, and there is a little voice in the back of my head saying, even from a technical standpoint, let's pull back the curtain for 30 seconds. The star of this show, with respect to you, me, and Johnny, Charles, is the leader of the Alberta NDP, who might be the next premier of Alberta, Naheed Nenshi. And I know a lot of people are going to be downloading and tuning into this episode to hear what Naheed Nenshi thinks about the future of Alberta and his vision for the party and his dominant win, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So part of me, the technicals, the strategic side of me is saying, if someone listens to this a week from now and the Florida Panthers win the Cup and we're sitting here gloating about how great the Oilers are, this episode isn't going to age very well. But guess what? I woke up this morning with a smile so big that my face hurt, and I don't care one bit. I came down, my little 9-year-old, he doesn't like being called little, my 9-year-old down there, he's already crushing breakfast, wearing his McDavid 97 sweater. Nobody cares about what happens if we don't win. Today it's all about what if we do.
We talk about events, and events matter in real time. We're in real time doing real talk in the real moment that it matters, and I could give a rat's rear end what people say a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Right now, we're at center ice.
I love this. Johnny, do you have a prediction in mind?
For
do you
tonight?
have a score? Is there like
Don't do this to me.
Is there
Come on.
sort of a fortune teller type approach? You got to have your sense. You got to have a feeling of where this game's going to go.
Well, if we go over to the real talk betting angle, no, I think it's going to be a close game. I honestly, I know everyone wants to see what's been happening lately, the momentum, but I tell you one thing, Florida's a very good team. No matter what you think about them, I know they've had 3 losses, but those first 3 games were also very scary. I honestly think, I think this might even go overtime. And if it goes overtime, that's what I want. Like, so many people are like, I'm nervous today. Enjoy the nerves.
Yes.
This is what life is about. Get anxious, get nervous, get on the tip of your seat. What, you want to see the Oilers win 8-1 again?
Nope.
That's not a game 7.
Well, I mean, actually, that wouldn't
I
suck.
do.
I want to see. I want to see 3.
I want to see the Oilers blow them out tonight.
Oh,
I want to see
no,
5,000.
that's
I want to see 5,000 empty seats. Thousands of Florida fans leaving. Going
You
to
know
the
what I want to
parking lot
see?
Because they'll know it's over, baby. It's over tonight.
You know what I want to see? 3-3 overtime. Connor McDavid breakaway scores, wins. That's history. That's what I want to see.
That's the Patrick Kane overtime goal for the Chicago Blackhawks. Winning it in overtime is special. I would love to see 0-0 nail biter into OT with the McDavid Hyman 2-on-1.
Of course.
Connor saucer pass and our hero, the former Toronto Maple Leaf, drafted by the Florida Panthers, Zach Hyman clapper top shelf to win the Cup. That's what I'm hoping for, a 1-0 overtime win.
May I please be the devil's advocate? Because
Yes, you may.
Satan never has enough advocates. Okay, so let me be on Satan's dream team here.
Wow!
If the Edmonton Oilers are winning 6-1 in the second period, are you telling me, Ryan Jesperson and Johnny Infamous, that you're not going to be absolutely delighted? Are you going to be saying,
I'll be thrilled.
You know what?
Of course, it'll be good.
I wish we were trailing by a goal. I wish it was a tie game. I wish it was closer. Are you kidding me? You're going to be loving it.
We were at, I was lucky enough to be at game 4 of this series, so people will remember the Oilers are down 3-0 in the series. Game 4, we're sitting there, we're trying to keep our spirits up, and we did. We did a good job of keeping our spirits up, but some of the scuttlebutt, some of what people are talking, people are saying, listen, we're either going to see a huge win by the Oilers, or we're going to see the Stanley Cup. That's kind of where people were feeling, right? What people were thinking. And as people will remember, that game early, the Oilers established themselves early. And there was a brief moment where it was like the Oilers were at 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 6. And the guy I was sitting beside, we sort of laughed a little bit. I said, it's a shame it's not a closer game, hey? And then we just started laughing and laughing. Oh, 8-1. Boy, did 8-1 ever feel good.
No fat pundits want close games. Fans want blood.
Yeah, that's right. You're like my mom, Chuck. My mom wants to see 10-0. She doesn't want anything even remotely close. She wants blowouts. So we'll see. Hey,
speaking of your mom, I want to wish her husband, Bruce Jesperson, happy 75th, my friend.
Hey, thank you very much. He appreciates the friendship with you, Chuck, for sure. Hey, what about speaking of blowouts? How about over the weekend? I think, anybody that watches this show, anybody that has even like a tiny bit of sense of political momentum and how campaigns go and how, just sort of like the ability, certain politicians, certain leaders to draw people in, to attract people, to create energy, knew that Naheed Nenshi was going to win this Alberta NDP leadership, of course, with Rachel Notley's resignation. But I don't know that anybody thought he was going to win with 86% of the vote. This is an absolute blowout. I mean, no disrespect to his fellow leadership candidates. Kathleen Ganley finishing with 8% of the vote. Sarah Hoffman with 4%, which I thought was pretty surprising. Maybe we'll talk about that. And Jody Calahoo Stonehouse with just under 2% of the vote. But it is Naheed Nenshi that will lead the Alberta NDP forward. First off, were you surprised at the margin of victory? Like, to put this into perspective for people, a first ballot win with like 55, 60% of the vote is really big. 86 is almost unprecedented.
I wasn't surprised because he was the primary reason that thousands and thousands of people were signing membership cards for the NDP. Many of the people signing membership cards for the NDP happen to be small c conservatives. They are not socialists. They don't want the provincial NDP tied to the national NDP. This was a different crowd. Naheed Nenshi is better than any politician in this country at knowing his base, number one, but knowing the possibilities of what his base could be. And that's why when he talks in, and like Martin Luther King which is who he quoted when he was doing that final summation on the stage with that wonderful crowd shot and that wonderful message of unity. He understands, just as Dr. King understood, that you have to have a vision. You have to know where the promised land is, and you have to know how to get to that promised land and how to take your people there. And Naheed Nenshi knows that. I realize some people are going to say, oh, Chuck, you're going too far. He's comparing himself to Martin Luther King. No. He's inspired, as I am, by Dr. Martin Luther King, who understood that this is only the beginning of a long struggle.
Yeah. One of the things that sort of jumps out at me here is I think that members of the party, and we'll acknowledge that a lot of these votes, about 83,000 votes cast, 73,000, pardon me, was Nenshi's membership sales, right? Like a big part of it, not all of it, but a big part of it. But there was some talk, you remember this, and as we would interview all the candidates, which we did, and people can check out the archives if they want now, but with respect, what's the point? The tale of the tape has been written, but people were sitting there going, yeah, but like Nenshi's the outsider. Like Nenshi's never been like connected to the NDP. If anything, he was perceived to be connected to the federal Liberals, but he's not the NDP guy. He doesn't represent the party. He doesn't pass the purity test. He hasn't put in his time. And what I think the party members did was get over that hump, which I think is really important, because you could do one of two things, right? You could really, really stick to your guns and the sort of the progressive purity test, or you could actually try to put together a team that can win, that can challenge the UCP in the next election and actually win. And I think that this margin of victory suggests that there is absolute consensus in this party. I'm sure there are some loyalists, obviously, that are going to continue to vote for their horse in that race. But this was Alberta NDP members saying that what we need to do now, the smartest move for us right now, is to go with the leader, is to install the leader that has the best chance of selling more memberships, raising more money, and ultimately combating Danielle Smith in the legislature, in the debates, on the campaign trail, as far away as that might be from now. We've still got a few years before the next election, obviously, but that's what the party members voted on. And I think if you're a party member, which I'm not, I think it's a smart move.
I think that most people, including those people who bought memberships because they were inspired by Nenshi, understand that you can talk about principles and philosophy and idealism. You can talk about those wonderful things until the cows come home. And the loyalists absolutely love that. They're rabid for it. But the average person, the ordinary Albertan, knows that personality matters. And the next contest, just like the last contest, the contest before and before, it's about two individuals. In this case, it'll be Smith versus Nenshi. And I think Rachel Notley did a wonderful job of modernizing the NDP. But Rachel Notley, just like a lot of NDP troopers, was much more about principles and philosophy than she was about victory. Naheed Nenshi, he hates it when I call him a warrior because he hates any kind of metaphor or any kind of word that associates politics with war. But that's him. This is me. Politics is a blood sport. Naheed Nenshi is a warrior, and Naheed Nenshi is there to win, and the people who voted for him want victory. They like philosophy, they like principles, but they love the idea of Danielle Smith having a ferocious opponent, and for the other party, in this case it's called the NDP, someday it may have a different name, have that party given a real chance at government. They can keep talking about the election a number of years ago where the Conservatives were split. That's yesterday. The idea that that's coming back is an urban legend. Forget about it. It's not coming back. The party needs to evolve, and that's what Nenshi's all about.
So about, approximately 72,000, let's call it 73,000 votes cast. Nenshi takes about 62,700 of them. Let's call it 63,000. So, I mean, it's just like a trouncing. And we'll credit Jason Markusoff, does a great job covering the Alberta legislature with putting this into perspective, Chuck. Here's just a few points as Markusoff was crunching the numbers over the weekend. He says the scale of Nenshi's leadership victory is staggering. More than 10 times the votes of the first runner-up, Kathleen Ganley. More than 10 times the first runner-up. A bigger win by the numbers than Pierre Poilievre's conservative leadership landslide win in 2022, based on percentage of total vote. A bigger win than Poilievre, and Poilievre trounced everybody. And here's another one. More votes on the first ballot in the leadership race. More votes on the first ballot than Danielle Smith won on the final ballot in the UCP leadership race. That one in particular jumps out at me. This is now Nenshi versus Smith. Yeah, the parties are with them, but this is two big personalities that, like folks are saying in our live chat, have known each other for like 30 years. And have never really directly squared off. And now the table is set.
They will be pushing each other's buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Every minute of every day, 24/7. But here's what people need to understand if they're making a comparison between Smith and Nenshi. Enthusiasm factor is everything in politics. Everything. Not only did Nenshi have more votes on the first ballot than Smith on the last, the people on the last ballot voting for Smith were not voting for her enthusiastically. Some were, many were not. The enthusiasm level for Nenshi is higher, much higher than Smith's, and that's why what Nenshi has right now is a movement. And if he can evolve that movement, he will become the next premier of Alberta.
So I've got some, we're in this political group chat that I've told you about before, and there's some musing in the group chat. People are saying, well, based on sort of how this all played out, Kathleen Ganley, Sarah Hoffman, Joni Calhoun Stonehouse combined had about 10,000 votes for them. This person in our group chat who I identify because I don't think it's a serious question, wonders, hey, could these 10,000 members and these well-known MLAs split and start another party? And I just laughed because I just think it would be a fool's errand. I think it would be a waste of time. It would be a waste of energy.
No.
And actually, I think it would be quite a selfish move for the politicians. I think the optics would be poor. But could you see a split? Like we've seen it before with conservative parties, right? Where one faction, typically it's, like the social conservatives on the conservative side, they feel like they're not being properly represented or respected. So they split and start their own thing. And then inevitably they have to come back together again and reunite to win. But could you see the left doing something like this?
No, because one of the things that I think you and I have, and people who watch and listen to this podcast have, is an enormous amount of respect for all three of those challengers to Nenshi. We have respect for their intellect, and you have to be dumber than a cattle trough to split away. You really have to be intellectually barren.
Sharon's in the chat. She says, not another party, please. No. Alberta Girl says, rumors about the premier, Danielle Smith, facing a divided caucus will increase. They can't keep, or she can't keep the group together now. We'll see. I don't know. It'll be, you might be surprised at what people can mobilize behind, right? And I think that the premier has done what she can early on to try to satiate and satisfy the kind of the right-wing base, right? Like if you take a look at some of her parents' rights stuff, if you take a look at what she's been talking about recently with children and vaccines, I think, in my mind, this is my analysis, this is my opinion, I think it's still far enough away from an election, but close enough to her leadership review at the AGM, which is going to be the only leadership review that she's going to face before the next election. I think she's trying to keep the right wingers. I'm not using it as a pejorative. She's going to try to keep the right wingers happy, especially early on, so she can look back and say, hey, I did this and this and this for you. And then she can kind of even it out, steady the waters, find the middle ground as you get closer to the election. And then you'll see severely normal Danielle Smith versus Naheed Nenshi, who might have a bit of a tougher time trying to throw stuff at her that'll stick. This is what I think the strategy is for the premier.
Okay, Nenshi is a game changer. I think both of us can agree on that. All the talk from Danielle Smith will be revolving around Nenshi in the last couple of years. Every time Smith speaks, it's Trudeau, and Trudeau's cabinet ministers. That is going to switch now to Nenshi. And without using pejoratives, let's just call it the right. The far right in her party, the base, they're going to demand that she is severely vitriolic, okay? And yes, demagogic about Nenshi. They will want her to throw mud at Nenshi all the time. If she is not enthusiastically throwing mud 24/7 at the head Nenshi, there's a good chance she won't get 80% at the leadership review. And anything that is under 80% is going to be perceived by a lot of people in Alberta as they ain't that enthusiastic about Smith, and they certainly aren't as enthusiastic about Smith as the other guys are about their guy, Naheed Nenshi.
Kenzie's in the chat. She says, LOL. She says, why would right winger be a pejorative? I agree. Why would it be? But every time I say it, we get emails. And so I like to clarify. I like this from Kathy. And I think that Kathy hits the nail on the head. When we're talking about Hoffman and Ganley, I want to be clear. I'm not hearing them suggest or, hint that they're splitting off and starting a party. This is just politicos in a group chat musing about things because we're bored on the weekend. But Kathy says, I'm sure that those ones you're mentioning, Ganley, Hoffman, Calhoun Stonehouse, and for that matter, Raki Pancholi, it says, I think that they'll be integral pieces of Nenshi's team moving forward. He'd be dumb to not use their expertise. And I don't think that there's any way he wouldn't. I mean, I think that you're going to see him tap in. I mean, you got to keep in mind, like there's several key players in the NDP right now in that caucus that have been government ministers, that have a ton of experience, that have been there before they formed government. And I do think that obviously, I mean, if you look at the social media comments over the weekend, as you do in politics, if you care at all about your own career, your own political survival, you get behind the horse that won or you resign. And I don't see them resigning.
No, they're careerists, okay? Their career is politics. Their business is politics. Their brand is their brand. And they're not going to get away from that brand. Their brand is now competitive. Why go from competitive to marginal? It's not going to happen.
I will put this out there just to feed the rumor mill, to make it interesting, to get this on the record. On June 24th of 2024, I would not be blown away if Amarjeet Sohi threw his name into the mix to seek Edmonton Millwoods, the federal riding again, and I would not be surprised with the opening at City Hall to see Sarah Hoffman make an Edmonton mayoral run. And if you listen to my interview with Ms. Hoffman during the leadership campaign, you know that I asked her about it, and you know that she acted like the question came out of left field and that nobody has ever talked to her about this before. But if you just want like a tasty little rumor to talk to your friends about, to muse about, to debate and discuss. Some people may think that it is an absolutely idiotic hypothetical, and other people may all of a sudden right now be listening to it going, gosh, that makes a lot of sense, right? Tim Uppal, the Conservative MP out of Edmonton Millwoods, and a very popular MP, right? It was Uppal and Sohi kind of battling back and forth. Uppal's not running in that riding again. That riding is wide open, and I think that Amarjeet Sohi could be interested. Now, you got to acknowledge the obvious, and this brings us to this Toronto-St. Paul by-election, and that is that the federal Liberals are really getting hammered in the polls, and their future is highly in question for obvious reasons. And whether you're a first-time listener to this show or you listen every single day, you know exactly the reasons why. But I'm just saying it is not totally out of the realm of possibility that Sohi may make another federal run and that Sarah Hoffman may find herself seeking the mayor's office in the city of Edmonton. Now, she has gone on the record and said that that's not true and there's nothing to those rumors, but also I asked her about it in the middle of the Alberta NDP leadership race. So what do you expect her to say? Of course she's going to deny it. But that's one storyline that I just can't help but be a tiny little bit intrigued by.
So someone running for the leadership of a provincial party will not admit that she's interested in the mayor's chair at City Hall. No kidding.
It's like asking Connor McDavid. So if you, I'm not comparing Hoffman to McDavid, but like, hey, so if you lose tonight, he's not answering the question. He's kicking you out of the dressing room. He's kicking you out. So hey, before we run out of time though here, because we are preparing to talk to Naheed himself. Nenši's going to be joining us in about 6 minutes. We're talking to Charles Adler
Give the Warrior my best.
Presented by Tice Automotive Consulting. But what do you make this Toronto St. Paul riding? It's Carolyn Bennett's riding. Obviously, she's resigned. She's retired from politics. It's been a Liberal stronghold, even when the Liberals have been decimated in past federal elections. They've won this riding by like 8 points, 9 points. The by-election today, a lot of people are saying, and this is oftentimes the narrative around by-elections, but this is, going to say a lot about the future of Justin Trudeau as leader of the Liberals, about the future of the Liberals, and a lot of the pundits are saying, like David Coletto, I saw was one of them, the pollster, that if the Liberals don't win by like 10 points minimum, this could be trouble. In other words, if they win a nail-biter, it's still not good. Your thoughts?
Well, for the last little while, I've been hearing the pundits say that Justin Trudeau for sure is going to take a walk in the snow, and Justin Trudeau for sure is going to take a walk in a gravel pit, and Justin Trudeau is going to walk into the Pacific, walk into the Atlantic, walk into the Antarctic. Justin Trudeau will be around for the next election. He too is a warrior, and Justin Trudeau's party will win tonight, as it's won every single election in Midtown Toronto in that particular riding since 1993. They will win in 2024, and they'll win again in 2025. That is as safe a Liberal seat as it gets.
8-1.
Are we back to Oilers scores now?
I'm taking all Adler's bets tonight.
Hey, okay, before we go, Charles, I have to show you this. This is something I know that you're going to be proud of. Although we didn't get your name on their soapbox, how perfect of a fit would it be? How do you not have Charles Adler's name on your soapbox?
Right?
The play on words there is amazing. But check this out, Charles. Our friends at Tice Automotive Consulting participated in the Red Bull Soapbox Derby here in Edmonton over the weekend. This is their so Chris Fisher, who owns Tice Automotive Consulting, was tiny dancer, and they participated as one of these soapboxes. And as you can see, did an absolutely incredible job. That is an actual real piano that has been installed. That's been installed onto a chassis. The piano did all right all the way through, right up until it got to the big jump, and that was where the whole thing kind of came apart. So I was talking to Chris because I saw him on a whole bunch of people's Instagram reels, and I said, what was the thinking taking that big piano over the jump? And he said, we thought about it, the best way to do it, and we decided it was full send. That was their approach. So this is a team of fellas. They had all attended the Elton John concert together back in the day. And so that's where they came up for the idea of Tiny Dancer. This was their entry into the Red Bull Soapbox Derby, and this was their buddies' stag, which I absolutely love it. Chris Fisher, the founder of Tice Automotive Consulting, there he is dressed up like Sir Elton himself with the rainbow feather boa, and there you see his pal. This is his best bud whose stag it was. I want to congratulate both of them for surviving the race, and as well on their score. I think as you're going to see here, the judges recognized that what they did was pretty special, getting that piano down almost to the finish line. The judges awarding them 43 out of 50 possible points. That is Tiny Dancer. That is the Tice Automotive team at the Red Bull Soapbox Derby. How about those guys?
And at the Red Bull Soapbox Derby, Tiny Dancer wins a Naheed Nenshi style victory. Not just any landslide, a massive, massive landslide. I love all my sponsors, but I really love the creative ones the most. Guys like Chris, guys like Tice Automotive, and Tiny Dancer. I'll be your leave on anytime.
Hey, we'll talk. Hey, listen, we're off next week. I'm going to tell the audience why in just a little bit, but we'll chat with you soon, Chuck. We'll look forward to it.
Thank you, and go Oilers.
Go Oilers. There he is, the Titan of talk, joining us from Winnipeg, where they're obviously cheering on the Edmonton Oilers as well. Naheed Nenshi coming up in 2 minutes. As mentioned, Charles Adler is presented on Real Talk by Tice Automotive Consulting. For Tice, it is Pride Month. 12 months a year, but they're hoping that all of you have an official Happy Pride Month through the month of June, and they're looking forward to celebrating with you all soon. Tice Automotive knows that every girl, gay, and they has a horror story of an experience at an auto dealer, an auto shop, or with a mechanic. They've been there, they've heard the stories, They've been dismissed, ignored. They know you've been confused or worse. But at Tice Automotive Consulting, they want to change that experience. They want everybody to feel safe and confident in the choices and the care they're putting into their vehicle, whether it's buying it, whether it's maintaining it. Tice does the legwork. They give you the information you need in a safe place. At Tice, your family. You can learn more about how they operate. I love this business model at ticeautomotive.com. A big shout out to our friends at Complete Care Restoration. So good to see them out there. They were one of our big sponsors at the Real Talk Golf Classic, presenting prizes and, of course, supporting that initiative. We're so proud to do business with this team that's been restoring properties and rebuilding peace of mind for more than 25 years. If disaster strikes, heaven forbid, whether it's fire, flood, asbestos, or black mold, or anything else, leave this job to the trained and certified professionals at Complete Care Restoration. And if your work on your home is going to be a little more positive, maybe it's no fire or flood, you're just trying to get organized. You've always dreamt of having a beautiful walk-in closet or that perfectly well-organized laundry room. Maybe it's your garage that could really use some love with a custom storage system. Nobody does custom closets and storage solutions for the entire home better than the team at California Closets. You can find them online at californiaclosets.ca. That's where you can request your free consultation. You talk to them about your vision, you tell them what your budget is, and they make it happen. I personally, based on our family's experience, recommend California Closets.
Talking a lot about big wins. Talking a lot about championships.
Wins. Now this guy's
and
going to come on
we've got the champ here himself.
The big man himself. But he's not going to gloat. If we know anything about Naheed Nenshi, I'm sure he's going to take this all in stride and present a very reasonable approach to all of this. He is the leader of Alberta's NDP. Naheed Nenshi joining us live on this episode of Real Talk. Congratulations on a landslide victory. How are you feeling?
Well, thanks so much, Ryan. You know, I'm currently enjoying one of the fringe benefits of my new job, staying in a palatial hotel suite here in South Edmonton next to the highway.
Yes.
But I get to be in Edmonton, and I understand that there's some sort of a sports event this evening.
Yeah, how are you feeling about this as a three-term mayor of Calgary? Are you? I've seen you on the campaign trail. I've seen you wearing Oilers colors over the last little while. This has got to be some, and plus, I mean, the orange, the fit, the brand. I mean, it all works.
Yes. You know, it's a lot easier to jump on the bandwagon when it's great Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But that said, you know, I am running for premier of the whole province. And so I was happy to have a McDavid away jersey, and except I'm pedantic, which will surprise you to know, Ryan, which is that in hockey, it's actually not a jersey. It's a hockey sweater.
That's right.
Like the Rock Carrier story. So I've got a McDavid hockey sweater, and I'll be wearing it on a street I understand is called White Avenue.
Oh, you might have a little bit of fun down there.
That should be a lot of fun.
For the non-political geeks and nerds like us, and I use that as a term of endearment, they may not immediately recognize that you'll be watching the game on White Avenue in Old Strathcona, which is, of course, Rachel Notley's riding. Yes. I imagine you're not thinking too deeply about that, but there's a bit of a storyline there.
You know, it is the heart of Edmonton, and as much as I am a Flames fan, and I will probably be back in my red jersey, you know, tomorrow, or maybe after the parade, knock on wood. I have been really excited over these last 4 months to be spending a lot more time in Edmonton and to be getting to know the city a lot better. And the joke that I've been making is, you know, I've learned so much about Edmonton, but the biggest thing I've learned as a Calgarian is that it is possible to still have hockey in the spring.
Yes, this is true. Although Edmonton forgot about that for basically the entire time that Johnny Infamous and I were teaming up working for the team, the decade of darkness where there weren't a lot of playoff runs, but it's absolutely incredible.
Causation, Ryan.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that as mere coincidence. Not one has nothing to do with the other. But I will say, like, to be preparing to watch a hockey game wearing shorts and flip flops is something truly special. I feel like this is maybe an appropriate. Let's start at talking to you about what your vision of Alberta looks like, and I won't base this all on sports, but everybody knows that Calgary is in the midst of developing a big new arena district, and there's been help from the province on that. Edmonton's downtown could use a lot of help, and there's a rumor that there's some conversation happening with the current government, the United Conservative government, and the Oilers Entertainment Group, or the Daryl Cates Group, about a big downtown development. How big of a priority? This is one example of many. I mean, we could talk about the Calgary water main break as well. Infrastructure, building the province, investing in the province. How big of a priority is that for you? How significantly does that factor into your vision of the future of Alberta?
What a great question. Coming as the mayor of Calgary for all those years, I understand the importance of the big picture in these sorts of things. And that's really one of my frustrations with the current government. I've said that in all my life, I have never seen a government that is so disinterested in the actual act of governing. And I think that's the challenge. They throw a bit of money here and a bit of money there. They pick fights here. They waste money there. But it's not in the concept of a big vision. It's much more in the context of whatever lobbyists got to them last. So, Calgary's downtown needs significant investment. There is a pretty detailed downtown plan that has a whole bunch of priorities in it. And instead, the government threw $300 million towards an underpass in the arena district, and they call that their entire contribution to Calgary's downtown. It's not helpful. It's not useful. And what we really need to do, especially if the premier is serious about growing Alberta to 10 million people, about Red Deer being a city of 1 million people, is we have to get very serious about spending very real money on infrastructure so that we're not always playing catch up. And that's stuff I know about very well.
Do you buy into those projections, like 10 million people in the next 30 years? And I mean, the million people in Red Deer thing, I think is a different story. That feels to me to be maybe 75 or 100 years down the road, but I digress. But it looks to me right now, like when we're talking about housing, when we're talking about our infrastructures being stretched, I don't know. We're hearing from municipal leaders that are telling us they don't think that Alberta's ready to absorb.
We're not ready.
It's
not
a good.
ready at all.
So how do you pivot?
So let me give you an example. In Calgary, the Calgary Board of Education, the largest public board in the province, had enough new students over the last 2 years to build 22 new elementary schools. They have funding in the capital plan to build one. And so you really start to understand that this government has no idea what it's doing. They're putting out these campaigns saying Alberta's calling, we'll give you a signing bonus if you work in certain professions and you come here, but they're not willing to spend the money or do the hard work to actually attract the kind of, not just the kind of people we need, but the infrastructure they bring, because nobody brings a school with them. Nobody brings a family doctor with them when they come to Alberta, but the province just is hoping somehow. Remember, there was a federal politician who once said the budget will balance itself.
Right.
I feel like the province is sort of thinking if people come, the problems will sort themselves out. But when you're a municipal politician, that doesn't happen. And you have to get ahead of the population growth curve. And this provincial government has no interest in getting ahead of anything.
I'm curious to know what your conversations have been like with your former fellow leadership candidates, Kathleen Ganley, Sarah Hoffman, Jody Calhoun, as for that matter, Raki Pancholi. I'm talking about the elected members, and then of course Gil McGowan as well. But I'm most curious about those that are NDP MLAs right now. What they said to you, what you said to them, and how you envision them being a part of your team. Obviously, people will expect a bit of a facelift, a bit of a shakeup. Obviously, that's what a leader does. A leader surrounds themselves with their people or the people that helped them get to where they are. So what do the next number of months look like for you in that context?
I've had some great conversations already, not just with my competitors in the race, but with all of caucus, and I'm going to continue those. We're going to have a caucus retreat next week where we can talk about a lot of these things. But, I gave each of my competitors a small gift on the weekend, and I gave them each an individualized, beautiful pen. And the reason I gave them a pen was because I said, this is our chance to write the next chapter together. And I have been blown away by their brilliance as I've been on stages with them over the last 4 months. And I'm really excited about using that talent to help show what a remarkable team we have. I know every leadership winner says stuff like that. But I got to tell you, Ryan, as I've gotten to know this caucus better, as I've gotten to know the three women on stage with me better, I am blown away by the depth of talent. And I want to make sure that Albertans get to see that too.
What did the margin of victory say to you about the party membership? Acknowledging that your campaign obviously was responsible for the sale of tens of thousands of memberships, but the numbers are staggering. I mean, 86% of the votes on the first ballot is wild. What does that say to you about the membership itself?
Ryan, do people who are politically nerdy listen to this show?
Oh, a few of them, yes.
We might want to get a little bit politically nerdy here.
Let's go.
So the numbers are staggering. And, you know, I'm very data driven. I'm very evidence driven. So we were looking at the numbers throughout the campaign and throughout the 3 weeks of voting. And I kept saying, you know, guys, I'm pretty sure this is the 20th poll out of 20. You know, the one out of the confidence interval that is wrong, because there's no way the numbers are this good. And as it turns out, the numbers were wrong because they weren't good enough. And so I was blown away by what we saw here. I believe that the Alberta NDP is now the largest provincial party in Canada. I'm told that no provincial leader candidate in Canada has achieved more votes on the first ballot than I did in Canadian history. And that's pretty exciting. But I know that it's not about people wanting to see more of this handsome face. I know that what happened here is we tapped into a vein of Albertans who are really saying we're sick and tired of politics the way it is now. We're sick and tired of this small-minded, divisive populist politics that we're being fed over the last decade or so. And we are ready to think about something bigger than ourselves, to think about the future, to think about the Alberta that we're trying to build together. And to me, that has been incredibly energizing. You know, the fact that we're so unified on this message is important. I always say that on the campaign trail every day, I heard three things. Number one, I've always voted conservative, but this version of the conservative movement, Danielle Smith, is not me. And thank God there's an alternative now. I hear number two, I've never joined a political party before. I've never been political before, but the stakes are so high that I can't be a bystander anymore. And number three, I have been knocking on doors for the NDP for decades, and I'm so excited to have something new to say to my neighbors. So the challenge is going to be to unite those groups and to build the movement over the next 3 years so people see that better is possible. And really, that is going to be my challenge, but also my great joy in doing.
As far as I can remember, the first candidate in the leadership race to talk about divorcing from the federal party was Raki Pancholi, and it certainly got people talking. And anecdotally, I had a bunch of people say to me, and it wasn't just prompted by her comments, I feel like people have said this for years, that they absolutely, on principle, will not or would not consider supporting Alberta's NDP until it divorced itself from the federal party. Rachel Notley obviously had no appetite for it. Some folks are wondering if that might be a bit of a hint toward where her future lies. But how do you feel about this? And do you think that splitting away might be worth it?
I heard this concern from the members every single day. You know, people would say I was knocking on doors in the last election, and everyone said, I like Rachel more than I like Danielle. I like the NDP more than I like the UCP, but. And the buts usually were, but the economy, or but the federal NDP. And so I don't really believe in things bubbling below the surface. I believe in surfacing these conversations. And a lot of folks don't know, even political nerds paying attention to Real Talk probably don't know that most provincial parties are independents of the federal party. So the Liberal Party of Quebec has nothing to do with the Liberal Party of Canada. The UCP in Alberta has nothing officially to do with the Conservative Party of Canada. But the NDP is different. It's just one party across the whole country. And I think it's worth having a conversation respectfully and with great admiration for the past and what's been done about whether the Alberta NDP is big enough now to go on its own and to be independent. And the one thing I will do is I will surface this conversation. I'll give a clear choice to the members. Obviously, I have an opinion on the matter myself, but I will give a clear choice to the members on what they want to do. We'll make a decision once and for all, and we'll move on.
I feel like the right move is to do it. I feel, I don't know. I mean, I guess I probably don't understand.
The question is, Ryan, what does that mean? You know, I think the easy answer is you should be able to join the parties independently of one another. I think that Jagmeet Singh and Rachel Notley would tell you that they already fight about policy all the time, so it's not a policy issue. But there are deeper answers to it too. What does it mean legally? What does it mean for data sharing? How do we work with volunteers and activists from different parts? I think all of it can be sorted out. I don't think we have to be prisoners to history in any way. But what we need to do is give that very clear choice to the members, I think.
What do you think would be like if right now, if you're launching a campaign, let's say there's an election at the end of the summer, what is, in your mind, right now, the ballot box question?
Do you think that this government, this Danielle Smith government, has your best interest at heart? And I think everything else follows into there. Are they helping you build a more affordable life when they quadruple electricity rates? Are they investing in your kids' education and in the public healthcare system that needs to be there for you? Are they attracting teachers and nurses and doctors to the province? But it all falls under the question, who does the UCP stand for? And the answer is they stand for themselves and their friends.
The ballot box question, I think, if we asked the premier the same thing, would probably be about affordability. Who would Albertans rather have controlling the budget, controlling expenditures? I think that's my guess is what their narrative might be.
I'll take that in a second. Danielle Smith increased spending in 2 years by more than Rachel Notley did in 4 years. She wasted $100 million on Tylenol. Her predecessor wasted $1.5 billion on a bet that Donald Trump would be elected in 2020. They're naive. They don't know how to spend money. They waste money constantly. And we see no benefit for it. So if she wants to talk about affordability, bring it on.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, said that now that laws are being passed through the Senate, she wants to see shovels in the ground on carbon capture, in particular in Alberta. This, as we've seen Capital Power press stop, if not pause, maybe, on its Genesee $2.5 billion carbon capture project. Premier on this show told us a short time ago that she sees that as a pause, not as them killing the project. What is generally speaking, we talk a lot about the Pathways Alliance and everything else. What does the future of Alberta's oil sands look like if Naheed Nenshi is premier?
One of the challenges that we've had with Ms. Smith is that she doesn't understand the industry very well. I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I've worked in the industry. I understand it reasonably well. I understand the innovative work that is being done by Pathways Alliance and by others. In fact, I remember at one time, a video of me was on the front page of the intranet of a very large intranet for their employees of a very large energy company. And it basically said, this guy explains the need for pipeline infrastructure better than anybody else. Listen to him. And so I'm an advocate for the Canadian energy sector, but I also think that our government is out of touch with the sector. They're actually behind. And, they're putting all their eggs into the carbon capture utilization and storage basket, but not looking at all the other innovative things that are going on. So it is true that we need to build a world where the last barrel of oil burned in the world is an Alberta barrel of oil. But that doesn't just happen. We have to earn it. We can't be bystanders to this. Our industry has some of the smartest people in the world working on these issues, and we have to support that. But what we have right now is a mindless cheerleader for the energy sector instead of a real partner in helping them work through the transition. And make no mistake, transition cannot be a dirty word, and it cannot happen to us. We actually have to lead it, and that's what I believe in.
Acknowledging that the premier's riding is Brooks Medicine Hat, which doesn't make sense to me. I've got a friend who is absolutely convinced that you're going to find your way into the legislature by running in Lethbridge, where Shannon Phillips has just resigned. That doesn't make any sense to me. My money, if I had to put it down right now, is on Joe Ceci resigning and you running for a seat in Calgary. Can you give us a hint on what the plan is?
Yeah, my hint would be stop betting on it. Because to me, this is actually not my number one priority. Most people don't realize that the Alberta legislature doesn't sit very much. It only sits 12 weeks a year, 15 weeks a year. It's one of the lowest meeting legislatures in North America. And so I don't want to get dome disease. There's so much more work to be done outside of the legislature. And when an opportunity presents itself, I'll be happy to run and present myself in that by-election. But I also believe that, number one, everyone who's in there now is in there because it was their dream to be an elected member. And it's not my place to say, get out of my way, make room for me. And number two, I believe that constituencies deserve people who know their constituency, who understand them, and who work hard for them every day. They don't need a leader like the premier who pops into the riding a few times a year. and hopes that everything else is under control. I was in the Premier's riding the other day, and to a standing room only audience, and someone was telling me about the cuts to education, and I jokingly said, but surely your local MLA is fighting for you on this. And the woman looked at me and she said, to quote Mean Girls, she doesn't even go here. And that's not the kind of MLA I'd like to be. So, we'll have conversations with local organizers as by-elections come up to see what they want, to see what they need for their community. But really, this is not obsessing my days. I've got a lot of other work to do now. And remember that the leader of the Wild Rose Party was out of the legislature for about 3 years when she was leader of the Wild Rose Party. What was her name again? Danielle Smith.
Yeah, this audience remembers. In closing, your former Calgary Council colleague is in our live chat right now, and Jeremy Farkas would like to know, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm going to make peace with the ducks and the horses, and I'm going to make a deal with them and bring the money back to Alberta.
All right. Hey, thanks for doing this interview. We appreciate it. Congratulations on a decisive victory.
There'll be a lot more of these to come.
Yeah, you got it. That's Naheed Nenshi, the leader of Alberta's NDP. Will acknowledge that obviously we could have thrown 150 questions in front of him, but everybody wants to talk to him this morning, and we're grateful to his team for making him available. So there you go. A little bit of insight into what his plans like. He's not wrong. It's not an absolute emergency to get into the Alberta legislature right now, but he's going to need to be in there by the time that fall session starts, you would assume.
Sure.
And so we'll have to see what develops there, and I'll get ready for sort of a facetious, playing angry but not really angry email from Joe Ceci asking what the hell I'm doing, starting rumors that he's getting set to resign, the former finance minister. But
I'm just ready for the bigger battle after the Stanley Cup is over, is just to see him and Danielle Smith in a room together for the first time, because even right there, as you're asking him a question, he doesn't even wait for you to finish the question. He knows
what's up.
He knows exactly what to say. He knows where he stands, and he knows where Danielle stands, and he's ready. I mean, he said it himself. Bring it on, right?
Yeah. So
he's ready.
And it's going to be an interesting battle as well. I mean, like we're talking about, we're sort of like a few sleeps away from the Calgary Stampede down in Calgary this weekend. By the way, great to see this whole water thing really is impacting people's lives right now, on a day-to-day thing. And I was talking to my friends about the what things have been like for them as they do this, but everyone's just sort of like got eyes on the Stampede, trying to get ready for the Stampede, because it is so much business happens there, along with a little bit of tomfoolery. I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but some people party there a little bit as well. But the politicians are the ones doing the circuit, and every PR firm and every oil company and every lobbyist and everybody's got their pancake breakfasts, their Stampede parties. And it's going to be very fascinating to see Danielle Smith, who's really obviously in her element in Calgary. And with that, that kind of Western crew, the oil and gas crew obviously factors in huge in the Calgary Stampede. But Naheed Nenshi, the mayor of Calgary, for some incredible years and for some trying years as well. And you'll see differing opinions on his record when it comes to things like property taxes, when it comes to spending. But as you can see, I think from the tone that he set here, the tone he set in previous interviews and comments that he's made through this leadership campaign, that he's ready for that fight. He's more than happy to stack his record up against Danielle Smith. So this will play out. This is going to be this is going to be very good for, John? Us.
I was just going to say that. I said, I know exactly what you're going to say.
This is very, 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 very good
very
for
good for political
us.
talk shows
everywhere. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we've got obviously a lot of comments in the live chat, and I just want to recognize this, and we're grateful for all of your involvement, and we do our best to sort of check in and acknowledge your comments here. But if there was something, a thought that you had that's you think is pretty relevant, or a point that maybe wasn't made on the show, that's something you think that we should be talking about, you can send us an email anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com, or you can hit us up on any of our social media channels. You'll find us on Twitter, you'll find us on Instagram, and you will find us on TikTok at Real Talk RJ. Coming up in just a second on Positive Reflections presented by Kuby Renewable Energy, we're going to take you out to the Ranch Golf and Country Club and show you our Real Talk Golf Classic. It was our third annual in support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship, a sold-out event, an absolutely fantastic time. But first, I want to remind you that Athabasca University right now is Canada's open university, and if you are thinking about maybe taking that next step in your post-secondary journey, maybe it's your career journey that you're getting set to launch this is your sign. This is the sign from the universe that you should check out their website, athabascau.ca. That's where you can learn more about the AU advantage. You know, a lot of people have found that studying at an online university works best for them because they've got other draws on their time, right? They're raising a family, or they're working a full-time job, or they're helping their parents. Whatever it is, you can read more about why AU students and alumni chose Athabasca University. Learn more about their programs and courses, including the Athabasca U MBA, by visiting athabascau.ca. And our friends at Friesen Brothers, 17 locations across the province of Alberta, want to remind you that they are celebrating Alberta Pork Month. If you go to their website, friesen.com, that's FRESON.com, you can learn more about giveaways, grilling tips, and more this month to honor and appreciate Alberta pork and its dedicated producers. Friesen Brothers is supporting Alberta Pork Month, including giving loyal customers a chance to win a grill with any purchase of fresh Alberta pork through the month of June. If you're already signed up as a Friesen Brothers loyalty member, you are automatically entered to win a Napoleon grill every time you purchase Alberta pork. You can find out more at friesen.com/barbecue season.
Two of my favorite words:
Pork?
barbecue and season.
I've been wearing a t-shirt around.
Oh, you mean the season? I think you meant seasoning.
Seasoning.
Steak spice, the Montreal stuff.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of barbecuing over the last little while. Mother Nature's been giving us the weather for it.
Amazing.
It just seems like the vibes are high. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Who would have thought that you'd be barbecuing while the Stanley Cup playoffs are still going on, and your team is still involved? Hey,
Can I say though, it's been a nice mix though. A lot of sun, but then we get these dousings of rain that we just need
enough.
ahead of fire season. Like yesterday, it was just rain. I was like, thank you, give us some of that, because we see the heat waves coming, right?
Totally. Beautiful weather. I think it was about 24 degrees and sun.
It's beautiful.
We had 15 minutes of a bit of a sun shower on Thursday. That was June 20th at our third annual Real Talk Golf Classic. And as we recognize our friends at Kuby Renewable Energy, the first episode of every week, our friends at Kuby give us an opportunity. They remind us to focus on the positives, to focus on the silver linings, to step outside of the news cycle and all the discouraging stuff for just a second, to say no to the negativity and harness the positive energy. It's Positive Reflections. And so today we thought we'd take the opportunity, thanks to Kuby, one of our sponsors at the Real Talk Golf Classic, to reflect on the tournament that was. Remember, all of this is in support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. And we want to thank our pal Steve Ricketts, who was out shooting the tournament. He brought his still camera, Johnny. He brought his video camera. He had a drone out there. It was absolutely fantastic. And we want to give a big shout out to Steve Ricketts for giving us memories that will last a lifetime. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we'll recognize our friends at CWB Wealth, the presenting sponsors of this event. So much fun to have DJ Johnny Infamous out there spinning tunes on the Real Talk tee box. That was hole number 4 with the Real Talk cigars. No big deal. We had our friends at Trailer Tonics launching their new trailer. This was the first event they ever did.
Yeah.
How about the huge sausage there on one of our tee boxes, which was absolutely great. Our golfers having so much fun. The putting contest presented by our friends at Complete Care Restoration. It was great to see California Closets out there on our hole-in-one, along with Go Insurance. We had St. Albert Dodge out there on another one of the holes-in-one. Damon Bunting out there sponsoring with his real estate company. We had 3 $100,000 hole-in-one opportunities. I was a little bit bummed out. I don't know about you that nobody hit the hole-in-one for 100 G's, but that's going to be an annual tradition.
Our insurance company wasn't.
Our insurance company was pretty excited about it, as a matter of fact. But no, it was just the absolute perfect day with perfect conditions. Look at that. We have the shot tracer technology on our cameras, which is so very cool as well, right? Look at this. The Ranch Golf and Country Club in pristine shape, and their team just did a beautiful job of welcoming our golfers. Want to recognize ISL Engineering, our volunteer partners, our friends at Molson, our registration partners. Apex Automation was there sponsoring the driving range. We had Cowan Graphics making sure our signage looked top-notch, and the Edmonton Oilers among those that were supporting our premium ticket prize draw. We also had California Closets, GS Construction, Go Insurance, and Sherwood and St. Albert Dodge on the holes in ones. And then the food. I mean, it was almost excessive. I mean, although that's subjective, because I mean, really, how much is too much? But we mentioned food. Our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park were back with their dilly bar shooters, which are always so very popular. We had Prairie Catering out there. Parlor Barba. How cool was it to have Parlor out there cleaning up? Free haircuts. Cleaning up everybody, making them look good as they stopped in on that tee box. It was amazing. The team at Tap Yag, you remember that? The new political party in Edmonton on a tee box. ID Apparel, making sure that everybody got a Real Talk branded cap. Hayloft Steak and Fish out there with the steak bites. Alberta Ale Works, making sure we had cold ones to enjoy. And of course, the Edmonton Stingers representing as well. Basketball season is underway. Make sure you get yourself to a Stingers game. And Johnny, hey, if you want to, I'm sharing
even
my
a
screen
celebrity
here right
sighting.
now. Check this out. So here's my Instagram story, and you can still find them on my highlights there. But how cool to have one of the stars of Spittin' Chicklets, Paul Biznasty Bissonette, in attendance at the Real Talk Golf Classic, and just what a man of the people, making himself available for photos. He was doing some video shouts out to people. We were able to hop on and play a few holes with them, and just had an absolutely fantastic time. Again, all of this in support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship, and we are thrilled to let you know. By the way, Manuela and Tyler, Manuela Lopez Aldana and Tyler Gaucher, who are our scholarship recipients this year, both of them speaking at the dinner.
That was pretty emotional.
They just brought the house down, talking to us about how this support, $5,000 annually through their 4-year journey. So it's a $20,000 commitment in support of them, made possible by our golfers, by our sponsors, by our volunteers. Just absolutely amazing. And the final tally is well over $50,000, John. Again, for the third year in a row, the scholarship contributions have exceeded our expectations, and we're thrilled to know that this scholarship will continue for years and years and years as we honor our dear friend and the founding member of the Real Talk editorial board. That's Julie Rohr. You can learn more about the scholarship itself, including how to apply. It's open to any post-secondary student in Canada who has lost a parent to cancer. You can find the application at ryanjesperson.com/scholarship, and you can learn more about our events, our 2 signature events, the Real Talk Golf Classic and the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic, by checking out our website, ryanjesperson.com. Click on the events link. We're already lining up sponsors for next year, and we are thrilled to know that we'll have yet another year of people coming together. Spirits are high, but all focused on a great cause. You know, the tournament happened the day after what would have been Julie's birthday.
Perfect.
It's Julie's birthday.
Perfect.
She would have been 42, and so obviously that was very meaningful for us and for everybody in attendance. Julie's parents, Gary and Marlene, were there. Her husband David was there, her son Max, and the rest of their family. And our hearts were exploding. Our hearts so full. And we want to thank all of you that were out there in support. I want to give a thanks out to, all of the volunteers that were out there. In particular, Noob Try Again, who's always with us in the live chat.
Some incredible
but
gifts
an
from
incredible
them,
lineup of real talkers that were out there, and it means so much to us when you come and introduce yourself and say hello, and we can put a face to a name. We want to thank you all. Can you tell that I'm enthusiastic about this? Can you tell that I'm still feeling the love? I know that the Rohr family is as well, along with the Shore family and everybody else, and that's because of so many real talkers like you. You are the reason for our positivity today. Well, that in Game 7 with the Edmonton Oilers. We're feeling pretty positive about that as well. Positive Reflections is presented weekly on Real Talk by our friends at Kuby Renewable Energy. You can get a free solar quote today by visiting kubyenergy.com. Hey, Real Talkers, we've got a great show in store for you coming up on June 25th on Tuesday, the morning after Game 7. We'll see what happens. Carrie Tate, one of my favorite journalists in Canada, is going to join me. She's done amazing coverage of the Cup run. She's a huge Oilers fan, and she's also covering that Calgary water story, so she's going to give us the inside scoop there. And I'm thrilled to announce that we've got a pretty interesting interview coming up on Wednesday, an exclusive one-on-one with Sophie Gregoire Trudeau on June 26th. You won't want to miss it. We'll talk to you soon.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harman Kandola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.